customer persona. Um, the next step is to hello, everybody. Welcome to Outreach That Converts in 2025. Prospect research made instant, made easy. And today I am delighted to discuss in the next 30 minutes about various strategies one must take as a founder, as a business leader, as a strategist about how can you reach out to that ideal customer persona, ideal customer profile. How can we ensure that people read, people acknowledge, people respond to the kind of content what we are creating, and most importantly, that how can you create a very steady pipeline over a period of time. One of the biggest challenges which has started in the world of AI was the rise of AI SDRs in the year of 2024. We saw a lot of AI SDR companies really mushroom up with the promise that we will make sure that your top of the funnel is always taken care of. Unfortunately, we've been starting to see a lot of churn in these kind of AI SDR companies, and predominantly is that just because there is volume at which things are being sent, things are being consumed, it is not giving out that kind of intent. It's not giving us that kind of quality, and therefore it is falling flat. So until our guest joins in, we'll be discussing about a bunch of things when it comes for a classic outreach or an outbound effort. Let me share my screen and share with you about how us at Supervity really imagine what the sales process really looks like, and how can fellow founders, fellow sales leaders, fellow business leaders can accommodate it. So let me just share my screen. So over here, I'm talking about how typically an AI agent in 2025 is able to conduct really thorough, really in-depth research about their prospect. Typically, before the era of AI agents, the way people were doing research was, look up the person's profile, Google about the person, Google about the company, maybe spend a lot of time looking at that person's LinkedIn. If I'm selling to a large company, if I'm indulging in ABM and account-based marketing, we'll spend a lot of time researching about what are the kind of buying intent, what are the kind of intent signals I can capture online. I would spend hundreds of dollars to all these popular platforms, all the way from Sixth Sense to Zoom Info to keep on giving me all the kind of information what I need in order to make a more informed decision, in order to make a more strategic decision. But now in 2025, I believe that time is of essence, and it's very, very difficult to spend so much time in ensuring that we get the right kind of insights. So if I want to visualize how an AI agent would look like, which can um, um, how an AI agent would look like, right? So, for example, I want to research about a particular prospect. The AI agent can conduct dynamic search, which can go. on the internet, on LinkedIn, on Google, on TechCrunch, on Instagram, on YouTube, scrape all these kind of bodies, and then finally go ahead and give me a very, very clean output. There can be also private research, right? In private research, we have a lot of locked databases. We have something like Traxon in India. We have a bunch of locked databases where the AI agent, once shown, can have access to it. And then finally, it can join together to give me a holistic understanding about what is the business description, what is the management team about, what is the organization chart about, what's the kind of vision and strategy there is, what are the kind of financial overviews, what my company, what the prospect, what I'm selling to is having, what are the kind of trends, revenue, profitability. Around that, we can also start understanding what's the kind of competitive landscape, what is the kind of regulatory landscape we can have. Now, the moment all this data is extracted, unfortunately, the way web crawlers actually take data out from all the screening, it needs to be categorized properly. It needs to start hitting in a proper format. So what we do is that all this data, which is scattered across the internet, is now extracted. We start categorizing that particular data, right? We categorize that data according to what's the company information, what is the kind of financial analysis, the digital transformation, any kind of competitive landscape, regulatory environment. The moment I'm able to categorize this kind of data, consuming this kind of data, A, becomes easy for readers who are conducting customer research, and B, it is fairly easy for people who are um, trying to identify what's the right step, what's the right pain point, who's the right stakeholder in order to go ahead and pitch to. Now, finally, I can also start enriching it through my CRM, right? If I have my HubSpot, my Snowflake, my Salesforce, my Google Drive, my SharePoint, what the AI agent can do is start looking up to in my SharePoint, or let's say it goes to my HubSpot and it tries to find twin customers. Twin customers are customers which are prospects which are very, very similar to the existing customers what you have. There is a very high chance that they are at the same scale, they're facing the same kind of problems, there is the same need of urgency. And through HubSpot, through Salesforce, I'm able to go ahead and find beyond deep research, right? You have Google deep research, you have Perplexity deep research, which is unfortunately maybe not the best game out there, considering the level at which Perplexity deep research hallucinates, and we've tried that firsthand while we were building this out. But unfortunately, deep research modules can give you data across the internet, but it still won't have access to your internal proprietary data. It will not have access to your internal proprietary knowledge. And this is where this AI agent can start looking up relevant use cases, relevant customers, scoop it out so that what you get out at the end of this is a really, really good pre-meeting prep, right? My output is going to be my entire contextual insights about what are the kind of tailored points, what are the kind of reference use cases, any kind of reference existing customers. There's a typo over here by my end. And what are the kind of sales introduction points I can talk about. Now, given this kind of a salesperson is doing a pitch, which entirely knows the entire landscape, the lay of the land of the prospect what is having, I think things become extremely, extremely easy. The prospect is more likelihood, there's a high likelihood of the prospect to give business to a salesperson who's prepared, who has deep insights about that customer, and on top of it has some tailored learning points. And in order to do that, your sales intelligence tools literally comes from your sales intelligent data lake, which is website, pitch decks, ebooks, webinars, your sales scripts, your battle cards. So the moment you marry detailed customer research along with your proprietary data lake, that's where magic happens. And that's where we also have Kinner, the founder and CEO of Nourish, a platform which is enabling hundreds of thousands of learners across the globe to learn from their favorite tutors, which is enabling subject matter experts to productize their content, their knowledge, and really help subject matter experts to distribute these content across geographies, across user bases. So thank you so much for taking out the time, Kinnar, and joining us. I have been reading a lot about Edbound and the kind of way approach what you have taken towards outbound through Edbound, and really kicked to talk more about it. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Omkar. Apologies for the few minutes delay, but I'm like so looking forward to have a good conversation. It's always such a pleasure talking to you. You have brilliant insights, and I've seen the magic of what Superwitty can do for certain use cases. I have, looked at what the platform and your approach is capable of. So let's dive into it.
Lovely. So I wanna start off the bat. Okay. I want to learn from you, and you have been an entrepreneur all throughout your life, majority of your career, if I may, and your outreach has been different ICPs throughout, right? Earlier you were selling to a different set of audience. Now you're selling to a different set of audience, and your audience is also fairly dynamic. Can you tell me, across all the ICPs what you've chased and all the approaches what you have invested into it, which is the one which has worked very well for you?
Okay, so I'll talk not just about the approach that worked for me, but also the lessons that I learned along the way. Because, I mean, sometimes we did something, it worked, but it wasn't the right thing that should have worked. It kind of, in hindsight, it looked like, not such a great idea. So I'll kind of talk about the journey. So my first entrepreneurial venture, we used to basically sign up large organizations, Fortune 500 companies, to large universities and institutions across the world, and we would consult for them, in about 30 countries. So over the period of like 7-8 years, in the beginning of my career, we ended up working with some amazing names. The Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe-san, we'd worked with him. We'd worked for the CEO of Carrier Air Conditioners, Pratt and Whitney, Sikorsky Helicopters, to Polaris, the ATV
Yeah.
mobiles that you see. So there are tons of brands. The primary way of acquisition of those kind of clients was pure networking at events. I mean, my try at that time used to be that I would get a speaking slot at some of the event, and I had traveled to almost 9+ countries just speaking across conferences, right? And there was definitely a focus. And when I was having my conversation with you recently, I think you kind of highlighted a better approach to that. So I won't say that I was super focused at that time, because we were fresh out of the university. We'd started this company right after we had studied for our master's program at Newcastle University, UK. And I don't think it was the best approach, but I believe we were able to convert some really large organizations. It was a slow burn. You have to build those relationships. You have to constantly kind of meet people. And that was the pure approach there. There was nothing digital, all through networking at events. And then, very effective CRM system to follow up, very responsive emailing methods, and, let's say, cadences. And I think that was the playbook there, nothing beyond that. Now, moving on to when we built the tech product Nourish, the target was, like you said, initially yoga trainers, dance teachers, celebrities, creators. And they're pretty much like a B2C audience. And when you go after such an audience, we did not begin the way we should have begun. But let me just tell you what we did, and maybe then in hindsight, what are the things that now I think should have been done. Primarily performance marketing. That was the method that we utilized, and I'm being very candid and honest about it. And I think that's a mistake that I did. I shouldn't have depended so much on performance marketing, but there were hacks around performance marketing that we were able to formalize. And because of that, our CAC versus LTV was very healthy for the software acquisition, like for the SaaS client acquisition. So we found great hacks in two methods. One was webinars, the other was
Mhm.
webinars, but they would be larger webinars, which would almost look like online events. So we did one where we
Mhm.
had almost 10,000 people over a period of like, like 2 days, plus then all the recorded relays that we did. It was called Spire Summit. And we could get some amazing people. So Sanjeev Kapoor, the chef, was there. Shobha Day. We had Ronnie Hermosa, from, who was leading community at Canva in Australia. So we had somebody,
Mhm.
Tom Ross, who's one of the most well-known guys in the UK for community building. We got someone who at that point used to manage Rihanna and Taylor Swift's social accounts, and he had written 1 million followers book. So, I mean, lot of celebrities like that, we put them together into one webinar, and those kind of strategies combined with performance marketing. So there was a bit of a community play, but every time you run a webinar, you would use performance marketing to get like 100, 150, 200 people in. So that was primarily the strategy. So I'm happy to talk about all that I feel was wrong and what should I have done. But I mean, I would love for you to ask questions around what I just mentioned and then maybe dive into it.
Yeah, no, I think this is great, right? Like one of the fundamental things, and just coming down to like ground practical reality, right? Lining up people for a webinar, right? A lot of people find it very difficult. A lot of people have developed some great hacks around it, right? If I am working for Nourish and you tell me, Omkar, we have to host a webinar. I need 10,000 people who gotta join this webinar. I'm like, yes, I want to do that, but can you tell me how should I do that?
So if I mean, if the question is around if we have to do it today, is that like, do you want me to address an approach today, or you want me to talk in hindsight or about the
No,
past? I mean,
I think learnings, if you can fish out your learnings from the past and contextualize it to
okay,
the way you
okay,
would do it today, I
okay.
think that would be a great
Yeah,
mix.
that's no great. I get it. Yeah, so let me just combine both of these. I think that's the best idea. So you're a great host, and I think you have the right question there. Okay, let me just put it together. So there is a playbook. I think if I wanted to do it today, I would not just right away jump into a webinar. I would slowly start percolating my content and niche and stitch the narrative really well. 99% of the people who are doing webinars or are trying to build a community don't just talk about one thing. And when they pollute their ICP, like they start talking to three different type of products and people, and start pitching three different type of products, you don't have a single thread. So I think the step one would be, have one great ICP identified and talk only the messages they want to hear. And let me tell you, the cost of not doing this from day one is super super expensive, especially on when algorithms on the platforms punish you. So I would start posting content and get people to follow me and have a bit of a social weight. I assume that all of us have. And then the second step would be that I will use automation like HeyReach, Taplio, and connect almost every employee's account onto a mouthpiece kind of a platform, where, let's say, if I have 8 guys and everybody has 1,000 friends, I now have cumulative 8,000 people who listen to a message, right? So I will stack up all the organic possibility first for the webinar. Now, second thing that I'm going to do is obviously line up the landing pages, the messaging, the WhatsApp, the funnel, the entire journey. Use a tool like Geru. I don't know if you've heard of a tool called Geru, Geru. Now, this is a visualization tool for building funnels.
It's like Miro or
No, no, it's specifically for funnels. I haven't seen
okay.
anything comparable to it. It was acquired by ClickFunnels 2 years ago or 3 years ago. A brilliant
Hmm.
tool, but what it lets you do is it can let you visualize that, okay, if your step one is publish a post about your webinar to 8,000 people, out of 8,000, 1,000 will see it, about 100 will click on it, 10 will register. So it can let
Okay.
you visualize every single step that your funnel would have. And then you would input all the traffic, where the traffic is going to be coming from. Because if I know that, okay, it's 8,000 and out of 8,000 only 1,000 will see it, 10 will register, I will clearly know that I need more traffic sources, right? So I'm going to tell the guy, my first suggestion would be, okay, go and build a funnel that you think is going to be the entire journey throughout organizing this webinar. If you want to do like a 10,000 people webinar, then you have to map out the entire damn journey, all landing pages, all WhatsApp messages, every single step that you're going to follow till the last day, not just till the day of the event, even after the event. Let's say you're going to send the recording 2 days later, that has to be in the journey also. So when this is mapped on Geru, you'll clearly get your realization that you need more traffic sources. Now, the second hack that works really well is if Canva's head of community is coming and he's agreed to come, I'll say, let's do a joint promotion. So here are the messages. Why don't you put it in your community? And, let's get all the people in India who follow Canva, because we will talk about Canva for an hour, and let's get them in and they'll hear about, creators and their monetization also. So that's another hack. I'm going to find partners like TIE, the Indus entrepreneurs in certain organizations like them, because then they also give me more eyeballs, right? And I'm going to put their name as someone powerful, like, organizing partner or something. And it doesn't matter because, you don't have traffic. They have a few lakh email IDs, and that's how I'll put it. I map the entire funnel, write all the messages, and then I'll stack it up and, get my guide. This is how you'll execute it. But I'll never leave it only till the point where they come attend the event, and then the recordings are sent to them. My try would be, can I get more and more of these guys to register in my community? And let me tell you here, the community is not going to be on a third party platform, because we have tried it. The funnels become too narrow there, because people don't have the habit of opening platforms beyond WhatsApp, Instagram, LinkedIn, maybe Twitter. These are the main ones that I named in India. Obviously, if you go abroad, you have TikTok and Snapchat and a couple of others. But these platforms are literally programming you to open them 20 times, 24 times, 25 times in a day. WhatsApp has an average open rate like of 98%, but people click on it almost 18 to 20 times in the day. So my personal learning is, I'll build a WhatsApp community, which can now be thousands of people in one community. In fact, I've seen communities with 50,000, 70,000 people. I'm going to put it there. And my try would be, everyone who's registering, I give them a lead magnet and I tell them, register in the community. We're going to post a message there with things that are not available anywhere in the event, but all the learnings will be in that community. Why? Because I want to incentivize it. And I'll tell you the reason. So this is my last point about it. The reason is, if they get into my community, next time when I'm communicating with, let's say, out of 10,000, 4,000 people register in the community, or even 1,000 register. Now I don't have to pay anything to communicate with these 1,000 people next time I do an event. I have a ready top of the funnel 1,000. And these guys, if I delivered well, love me or like me at least, or know me. It's all warm. And I would keep sending through a cadence of messages or newsletters or messages, information to these guys over the next 1, 2, 3 months, every month once, maybe, if I have the capacity, maybe once every 15 days. And that's what my entire playbook and funnel would look like. But I would definitely mark it on Geru. I wouldn't just go and dive into it without writing every damn step.
And how iterative is this process? The answer is yes, it is iterative, right? Now, how do you learn from one webinar to another webinar to another webinar? And what are the kind of, metrics what you try to track and really want to over optimize on those kind of metrics so that the delta keeps on increasing on, you don't want to go gung ho, all hell loose on all the metrics, right? So what are the kind of ones? Do you have a way where you go back to these tools and identify that maybe 10,000 was spray and pray, right? Out of which, how many were my CP? How much was the conversion rate? What's the kind of average CLTV I've been able to get it on that? So have you been able to track this, and what was your experience through that?
So no, we were always tracking conversions. There was never a time when I was not tracking three main metrics. So webinar always track three main metrics. That if you spent 20,000 rupees, 50,000 rupees, 100,000 rupees, or whatever, based on the number of people, doesn't matter if you had TIE or others also in the mix, I would still calculate the total number divided with the total amount of money spent. So how much was the cost of bringing one person into the webinar? I'm not going to, because I can't attribute in the best way how many did TIE bring, how many did Canva bring. You can do that as well, but you asked me a real easy quick way. There are tools that you can use to do those kind of attributions as well. Like, I was just on a podcast with Trigify's founder Max yesterday. They're based out of UK, and that kind of a platform can help you track. But if you don't want to spend, track the total CAC. Like what does it cost to bring one person? And then obviously bottom of the funnel in your CRM, you have to mark every lead that came through. Whether it's I mean, I don't know, some people do PLG, some people basically just push them for trial signups. So based on what is your end closure CTA, you will put a marker there based on UTMs or email IDs, or in your CRM, if you have callers making calls or doing demos, you're going to build a funnel again inside the CRM to look at what was the conversion. And you look at, how many people paid and what's the total cost that you earn, and that gives you CAC LTV for that webinar. So I'm not going to go anywhere else, but I'm going to look at, okay, this is my cost of acquisition and this is the total revenue that I kind of generated from the webinar, and this is the number of conversions. So let's say the top of the funnel was 10,000 people or 5,000 people, and I was able to convert 10 people, then this is my conversion rate, right? And this is what costed me to convert these guys, and this is the total revenue. So I think broad matrix, right? I mean, I don't think that for a lot of people it makes sense to go any deeper than that, but yeah, I mean, there are other things that you could definitely do, attributions, to, I mean, you can start going traffic by traffic, you can start going, what channels bringing you the most people, so you can double down on that next time. And all that layering with cookies and the analytics that you layer down depends on how ambitious you want to get.
Got it. Got it. Now, I wanna talk about. Of course, CAC is only able to nourish both B2C, B2B, right? More B2C than B2B. But I think majority of your dollar revenue comes from B2B is what I'm assuming. Is that a right assumption?
So for Nourish, no, it has been always, I mean, the single individual or the very small business owner. That's been, we classify that as a B2C only because there's a single decision maker there. That's not a business per se. But yeah, that's been the major revenue earner for us so far, which is now
Hmm.
shifting. Like it's almost tilting towards, like, the shift that we are bringing. It's becoming a different organization, a different entity. So yeah, that's all going to be all B2B, from here on. But yeah, that's been the target audience that we had always focused on so far.
Got it. And I think that's the time I want to ask you, right? You are evangelizing. HubSpot came out with inbound. Nourish is coming out with outbound, right? I am one of the followers of outbound to a large extent, right? One of the most recent things what we did was we launched our academy on Nourish. Can you tell me a little bit more about what is the philosophy of outbound and how can it help sales professionals, sales leaders, marketing professionals, and leaders to actually start attracting their ICP better, right? Because I believe that there's a deeper philosophy than just publish content, get eyeballs, try to push them into a funnel.
No, that's a question close to my heart. So I'll tell you, it's a analysis that we ran for a long while on the internet, that even platforms like OpenAI, with the space getting crowded with Perplexity to Grok to Claude to all these LLMs, just launched an academy, which very quickly became one of the most sought out places on the internet to learn anything about AI. Now, if you think deeply about this philosophy, you will see the layers or inklings of this similar strategy used by companies like Salesforce, PwC, Ernst and Young. They never marketed directly. In fact, even LinkedIn, it never says go and try my Sales Navigator or my hiring product. They'll always do a webinar or an ebook, and based on that, they will try and get the customer to understand how does it work. Now, the whole base of this philosophy is that in today's time, when there's so much noise about all domains, and there's so much of content on the internet, if you find the right ICP and you try and address the insights they're looking for with educational content, um, based on that, you can build tons of signals, conversions, trust, and that becomes your central philosophy. So if I explain that more, it's just that in case of, let's say, I have an AI agent company, and I have so many use cases. If I want to talk to a B2B client, a CMO, or a director of operations of some company who's going to be my potential ICP, I will think and go deeper and maybe do research on Reddit forums and all the places on the internet and understand what are the common questions that these guys battle with, what are the problems that they handle. And based on that, I'm going to produce some really good content. What we're doing right now is also sort of content. And content becomes the power that you attract someone with. Now, this is just the beginning of the idea of what Edbound is, but then it goes deeper. I can generate signals going forward. So you have 1000 people that you pushed into today's webinar. Let's just assume that there are 1000 people. So my platform, very soon we will take this out of beta. You'll be able to get signals and understand who's it that's watching your content, and you'll start doing lead scoring within the platform based on how many people are consuming more content. Who's it that's deeply engaged with your content? Because based on consumer psychology, if people consume your content, they already know that you are the guy they want to trust. It's psychological, global, works across geographies, works across languages. If someone's consumed content from you and they have liked that content, it's trustworthy, it's knowledgeable. When you take an offer to them, they are bound to convert. So the entire journey of someone getting into your top of the funnel, knowing about your brand for the first time, will happen through a white paper, ebook, or webinar. And then their transfer to the platform's conversion on a CRM, when you pass that lead on to your CRM and your sales guy or demo guy converts them, will all happen through the tech that we are building, we are enabling. And let me tell you a few pieces that you might not have tried yet. You can train the AI bot on our platform to even answer questions at 2 a.m. at night on WhatsApp. If you connect a WhatsApp number with the platform, the AI bot will learn everything. There is an RAG there. It basically looks at all the content that you consume, everything that you put out on your white paper, ebooks, whatever you have put on the platform. And you can program the bot to be a sales guy. It can start telling people, okay, well, if you've understood what I just explained to you, why don't you try and talk to my consultant more? You can shape it the way you like to sell to people, or you would like to solve customer queries. So all of that can be automated as of today. I mean, this is not a feature that we will release. This is something that's already working and functional on the platform. So that's how you
Mhm.
basically take the entire journey of Edbound. But there are multiple powers around it. I'm eager to discuss more.
No, absolutely right. So, for example, RAG is all powerful, right? And in 2025, the kind of dimensions what RAG has started coming onto, right? Like we're moving a lot from chunking to actually going ahead and having a very splatter kind of an approach towards retrieving that. Over here, what I want to talk about, as the last segment of our thing is about account research or like a prospect research, right? Because a lot of times sales guys go blind whenever they're going in for any kind of a meeting, right? Like, let's say, for example, I'm working for Nourish, I'm pitching for someone. I will go ahead on the internet and remove the entire kundali of that person, right? Try to uh, get hold of what is the person or the company who I'm talking to from a base level understanding that what is his position or her position, how long has it been in the company, to a more macro level, right? Like how is the organization doing? Would it have money to pay for my particular uh, proposition? Are they in a good financial space where I understand that it is top down priority whether they would want to invest in something like this? What are the kind of approaches one is taking? Because I also want to talk about something what we are also putting out in the market, which is the prospect research AI agent. So can I have your approach towards it, about how do you research about a particular person who you're pitching to, right? That person's registered for a webinar and you have identified that that person's your ICP. What kind of research goes into for you to pitch into an ICP, considering that the ticket size what this person or this company will give you is fairly high?
Before I'd looked at what your platform could do, I mean, the basic research would include things like running it through Perplexity. I mean, you could build clay enrichments as well. So we'd
Hmm.
experimented with that. You could run it through, I mean, use data that's available on Apollo, Lucia. There are tons of platforms that kind of do summarization of a lot of these things. I mean, CB Insights has, some of the tools that kind of lets you look at maybe did they raise a round, what is the revenue. I mean, in some countries some of that data is public. So whatever is in
Mm-hmm.
public, but broadly looking at broad signals, because the idea with all the sales guys, for someone running RevOps, or looking at kind of managing a few salespeople, is the matrix are how many calls were made, how many demos were done, was the calendar full. So it doesn't leave too much of a room for a lot of research, but I do see the benefit of that. And I mean, the best part of what you showed me the other day with just an experimental kind of a research that we had done. I just mentioned to you top of my head, let's say if I wanted to pitch to NHS, the National Health Service of UK, how Nourish would help. And the platform, what your platform did was pretty amazing, because I'm looking at it even before the sales guys get engaged. Let's say if I had to build an ABM strategy, account based marketing could be huge. Like if I have a SaaS that is built for certain type of audience, I could go and kind of ring fence all the people in NHS who are decision makers, and your research the entire 100 plus pages that the tool kind of spit out, in fact opened my eyes to possibilities where I could be pitching to NHS. So it's not just about account research. What you showed me went beyond that, and it also, I think, kind of overlaps with ABM strategies quite a bit, and it's a very high level, let's just say a marketing or a strategy guy who's making decisions on who should we be pitching to. So I saw a great fit at that point. But yeah, I mean, for us it could be just Clay, Enrichments, Perplexity, now Grok deep research as well. So that's what we would do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So because I have that. As you were saying, I was just trying to get that report right for NHS, because a lot of times what happens with the likes of Perplexity or Grok, right? I'm honestly, candid enough to put it out there that Perplexity is possibly losing the plot. A, because they really challenged Google, and I think they awakened the elephant, what Google is, and the new releases of Google is, I think it's superpowerish, right? And on the other side, I think in the pursuit of really trying to make a mark, Perplexity, we used it so much because while we were building our own proprietary deep research mechanism, right, about how do we crawl the web, how do we retrieve information, we wanted to get the lay of the land, right? And to the extent what Perplexity hallucinates, it is unreal, right? It is going to give you links which are masquerading as links, but they lead to empty pages, right? And I've never seen that kind of hallucination from somebody who charges also significantly, right? So there's Sonar plan, which allows developers to embed deep research into programs. I think uh, we tested it out while we were canvassing the whole surface. I think it really did a bad job. I think after that is ChatGPT, again, great in terms of scanning the entire internet, but also at the same time giving empty links, not grounding your search. I think Google Gemini 2.5 Flash, uh, I think the newer one which they released, I think day before yesterday, where the training data is updated as of 1st of May, which is insane, which is practically, if you use it in May, it's as good as live search, right? I think that's the kind of research on top of which, if companies are able to build and research about their prospect, I think nothing like it, right? Like I'll give you my own example about it, right? uh, we typically sell to Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 1000 companies. Now, for us, one deal size is like at least 100K, right? 100K is on the lower side. At 200, 300K is what our average contract value is in the first year, and then we go ahead and land and expand. Now, over here, when I know that my ACV is fairly higher, uh, I got to be prepared to the T, right? I need to know as much about the company as their CFO knows about their own company, right? That's the level of depth what I need. And over here is where we tried, like even NHS, right? What we tried to see, that what are the kind of investments they're planning to do in the near future, because not only you want to know about the past, you want to start knowing about what lies ahead, because whatever they're investing in the future, we are trying to get that little part of that entire budget. So I think I want to talk more. I had a hard stop at 9:15, but I want to do part two where we would also play around with tools. Collectively, what I want to propose as well. And I love chatting with you. I love your company because we both are hackers, right? We like to hack our way around, use the best tools out in the market. Maybe next time, Ria and George can sync up about. We start off with a problem statement and we kind of hack our way through it. Also, kind of build a life strategy around it, right? I can look after the tool part, you can look after the strategy part, and we start off with the problem statement. I think that can be great exercise for us to also keep our
Always happy, man.
uh,
Always happy to
thoughts over it.
jam with you whenever.
Yeah,
Just let me know.
yeah. I think that's gonna be like, I don't know. Is vibe strategizing a word as yet? I don't know, but there's a very
Yeah, no, I think yeah, there should be something like that. Yeah.
yeah
But I like Grok also for stuff like this. I think I
yeah
kind of, because they have access to real Twitter data. So
yeah
it's like almost live. And some of the insights, like I'll tell you, we were solving a UX problem. And I mean, when we do this exercise that you're talking about, we just did
mm,
this yesterday. And believe me, the insights are unreal.
mm-hmm,
I mean, stuff like, and the question was around abandoned cart recovery. So we are just launching a new funnel called abandoned cart recovery. It's
mm-hmm,
powerful for even webinar sales. So people who get to the last point but don't register and complete. Now you can
mm-hmm,
retarget them through WhatsApp, SMS. And when we were bantering with Grok, it did a research through all the Twitter threads, Slack threads, Reddit, Quora, and told me how do seasoned marketeers on Shopify and other platforms recover abandoned carts. What is it that we are missing on our platform's UX? Because we wouldn't have put in a landing page as a recovery tool, but it suggested me why it should be there. So I mean, unbelievable. Like it's just next level. It's not just like just basic answers, but the comparison and the graph. And I'll love to show you, how it convinced me to put,
mm-hmm.
like, alter the funnel. Is just unreal. So let's do that. And whenever we do that, I mean,
Yeah.
I'll be happy to share what I'm seeing and learning.
Yeah, and I think we should live do it, right? Like we start with a problem statement and
Sure.
take it till the very end. Lovely. Great. Thank you so much for joining in. As always, it is a delight talking to you. And I hope to see you in person very soon and also
Absolutely.
online where we will jam this out.
Definitely. Look forward to it, Omkar. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a good one. Bye.